Hello booktube, or hello to people new to booktube or like exploring booktube such as myself. I actually wanted to make a little bonus video today because I have been getting back into reading. I want to share that joy with you guys. I need an outlet for that joy also. I cannot contain it myself. I'm so excited, like this. Oh, I'm obsessed. I'm thinking that this is going to be more like bonus content. I don't want it to be a main piece. I'm trying to get in a routine of uploading every Thursday and every Monday, and I don't want this to be in the main schedule of that. Any book related content, fictional related content, unless it's like productivity books, will be a part of like just bonus content that I upload as a surprise. It's not a main pillar of my content, but I need an outlet for all of this excitement and all the fun stuff that I've been reading. Without further ado, I want to explain that this is the book that got me back into reading. Now, we'll get into this in just a second. I want to give you a little overview of my experience with fiction, how I kind of fell out of love with it, and I'm now falling back into it thanks to Fourth Wing. I loved fiction as a kid. Didn't we all love fiction as a kid? I feel like everyone is always like, I was that kid reading, locked myself away in the room reading all day, and that was 100% me. I did spend a lot of time with friends as a kid, but the weekends that I would be so excited and the most pumped for the weekends that I didn't have plans with my friends, and I would sit inside all weekend reading, writing too. Like, I loved trying to write my own stories, create my own stories. I just loved living in this fictional world. I remember the last really good book series that I read when I was younger was The Hunger Games. I remember being so into The Hunger Games before the movies came out, and I was trying to binge them all. I knew that the movies were in progress, and I remember going to see that first Hunger Games movie and being so pumped about it. I remember loving the book so much that I was pacing the room trying to outlet the energy because I just couldn't hold still while reading. I was like, I gotta let this energy out. So I'm like pacing as I'm reading, like having anxiety, turning page after page, which was kind of like how I was for Fourth Wing. But that was the last real book series that I think I read for fun. That was middle of high school. I think that might have actually been my junior year of high school. My senior year of high school, I was doing a lot of British literature intensive reading. I kind of fell in love with British literature, which is a separate thing that I love. I may be a little bit more alone in that. I know a lot of people don't necessarily love it. I was reading for school a lot of Jane Austen. That was kind of like as I was starting to transition out of reading for fun, and I read for school projects, but I still enjoyed those books. I didn't really consider myself out of love with reading yet. Going into college, I started out as an English major. Well, I was doing two majors. English was one of them. I was kind of like, what am I going to do with an English major? It was something that I really loved, so I wanted to pursue it. That didn't last long, but we'll talk about that separately. So I started out as an English major, and I was taking a lot of classes that involved so much reading, so much breaking the books down. Writing too. I did like a fictional writing class, a few random writing classes. Somewhere along the way, I stopped reading for fun. It was just torturous to read these books, and you know, when you're assigned like read this many pages, and it's just like it's not the same. I also wasn't really enjoying them. I was experiencing college for the first time, so these books were really serving as something in the way from what I wanted to really be doing. I just didn't enjoy it anymore, and I wound up leaving the English major for other reasons, but it really sucked the love out of reading for me. I did take one British literature class in college. British literature again, and I enjoyed like the first part of that, but I think the whole semester just really dampened my love for British literature as well. That also just got buried. So I fell out of love with fantasy, British literature, any kind of fiction, and then from there I just got really busy. So I started doing my other major. I started a job on the side of college. I was hanging out with friends any moment in between, working on college and working, like just working. I was a server. I had a few internships, and those like exhaust you. As much as I would like to say I was focusing on those things, I was actually focusing on like having a good time in college. So that was where the majority of my energy went. And I just never got back into reading at that point. I've always kind of been bad at balance. So even after graduating, starting work, I went overboard with like when I wasn't working, I was going out, I was having a good time. Ultimate wild girl post-grad. Like, that was me. I just didn't really pursue reading. Balance is obviously a key piece of my channel. I am always working toward more balance because I've noticed in my life I operate on extremes. And so this is an area where I'm also trying to now incorporate more balance. As I started to get out of that wild era, I did start to read again, but I was reading nonfiction. So I was reading self-motivating books, anything that would help benefit my mind and put me further in life and advance my career, my plans, whatever I wanted to do. I saw fiction fiction as a waste of time at that point. Going back to balance a little bit, I now see, now that I've rediscovered my love for fiction, that I would like to balance fiction in a little bit more. I don't need to be so extreme about like, oh, I can only read nonfiction, or as much as I would love to right now, going overboard and hermiting myself off and only reading fiction books all day, all night, whatever. I will be working toward a balance in reading fiction and reading some nonfiction books. And that's just gonna always be a work in progress. I think I did a really good job with Fourth Wing, which I'll explain when we get into it a little bit more, even though I just wanted to lock the doors and really just read this book forever. But that's okay. I really love this book. Like, I really love this book. So I finished it yesterday. Context, I finished the second book yesterday, and I can't. Okay, back to the intro. Fourth Wing wasn't the first fiction book back that I've read. I actually ventured into Taylor Jenkins Reid a little bit last year, and Seven Husbands was my first real book reading fiction again. Oh, back up. I actually read another Jane Austen piece that I hadn't read before. I read Emma, which I really loved. It was really good. It was honestly kind of slow and hard getting back into British literature, but it did help me rekindle my love for British literature. But modern fiction, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, was my first re-entrance into the fiction world. Because I was an English major and just my love for the language in general, I am a little bit of a snob. I'm trying to work on that, but the reason that I wound up reading Seven Husbands was because I had heard that it was a real literary masterpiece. I am not the kind of person who's just gonna read anything. I'm very picky. At least that's how I initially was. Now I might have a little bit more of an open mind. I was hesitant to read. I know Colleen Hoover blowing up for the longest time. I couldn't do it. I mean, I was not a Nicholas Sparks girl ever. I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be a hater. Nicholas Sparks writing was not for me. I did not like the style. The stories are fine. Like, I watched the Nicholas Sparks movies. They're great. I wasn't a fan of his writing. I'm sure Nicholas Sparks wouldn't be a fan of my writing. That's okay. In fact, I have not released any books and have no room to criticize. Nonetheless, I kind of felt the same way about Colleen Hoover. It was giving me that same Nicholas Sparks vibe that I just didn't like. Now, I have never read a sentence from Colleen Hoover, so I could be totally biased and wrong, but that was my mindset going in. And I heard that Taylor Jenkins Reid was a really great writer. So, Book Snob me was like, let's see what this literary masterpiece is about. It'll be mentally stimulating. It's not just some fiction love story turned out. There's depth, there's more. I read Seven Husbands. I loved it. I remember finishing it on a flight to New York. There's a scene, if you've read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about, but there's a specific part toward the end where I was just bawling on the plane. Everyone around me was just living their lives, and I'm in a corner crying my eyes out. So that was that. I was back into reading, and I had this list that had been ongoing because I was always like, I'm gonna get back into reading. I'm gonna get back into reading. Shoe Dog was next on that list, so I picked it up. It's a book by Phil Knight. It's a really good book for entrepreneurs, or if you're just interested in the founding of Nike. It's a really motivating story. It wasn't as quick for me to read through. However, I did enjoy it a lot. Work was really busy. Things were crazy, and I just read bits and pieces here, there, where I could. It took a couple of months for me to get through the book, but better late than never. I made it through. It definitely wasn't worth putting down. I just like couldn't fully focus my attention on it. And I was like, this was great and all, but I want to read a little bit more fiction. So I went back to who I knew I was a big fan of, Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read one of her first books. It's called In Another Life. It didn't really do it for me. I was a little disappointed, but of course, like, that was one of her first books. I kept that in mind after I finished it. I was like, it's okay. I still love her. Seven Husbands was amazing. Read Harry Soto is Back. I'm going to make like a separate compilation of these books, but that was really solid. Anyway, a few months passed by. A good friend of mine has a fictional world podcast. They're really great. Even made like a fan movie for a book series that I haven't read yet. Her and her friend are so great, and I wanted to be able to engage a little bit more in this podcast. I saw that one of the things they talk about is Fourth Wing. I picked it up. Let's give this a shot. It looks really cool. I saw that someone else I knew was reading it. I was like, might be good. Little did I know. Little did I know what I was signing myself up for, okay? No. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Fourth Wing, the Empyrean series. I want to talk about it as a whole and how it made me fall in love with reading a lot more again. So this video will have no spoilers. I'm just kind of giving a brief overview of it. I'm going to make a separate video that I don't really know how booktube works. Like, do people review these with spoilers? It's kind of hard to talk about it without spoiling things. But like, I'm actually going to be rereading these. So I'll make separate videos specifically for Fourth Wing and then Iron Flame after seeing maybe how other people structure their booktube videos, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. But anyway, the point of today's video is to share my love of Fourth Wing. I hope other people relate to it, or to convince you, if you have not read Fourth Wing, to read Fourth Wing, because it will change your life for the better and the worse, a little bit for the worse. Nonetheless, I started this series with no expectation. I was kind of like, okay, well, they liked it, I'm gonna dip my toe into it. Seems a little culty, if we're being honest, but I'll see what it's about. As I started reading it, I was kind of like, what did I get myself into? I don't know how I feel about this, like all these made up worlds. It was weird dipping myself into, after reading Taylor Jenkins Reid and some British literature as my first fictional experiences again as an adult. It was weird to me to dip my toe into fantasy. I think that fantasy is really, really, really hard to do well. So as I was reading it, I was kind of like, is this too teenagery? Like, I don't know. Is this gonna be just a surface level story? I really wanted to read it because I thought that it would be like more of an adult, mature novel. I didn't want it to be super young love. Wanted something more relatable to me. I got that. But as I was reading it at first, I had all these questions and I wasn't sure in the first couple of chapters. But then I got hooked into the story and I just needed to know. So I'm a little more interested. My interest is piqued, reading a little bit more. And a few nights later, I found myself lying in bed, awake 2 hours after I was supposed to be in bed. I'm just like, I got to this part where I was like, I can't put this book down, just binging it, consuming it. My fiance turns over in bed to me and he's like, are you okay? I was like, no, not okay. I'm not okay. I really just didn't have an end in sight to when I was going to stop the book that night. I think I literally fell asleep on this book. So it became a big hit for me at that point. I did not want it to end. I really tried to absorb it. The first initial chapters I went through kind of slow, and then after I got to that part, it was like, boom, rapid, finished. All I could think about, it was like, I buried myself away. There was no sense of balance. I was just either working on things or reading Fourth Wing. No in between. But Iron Flame, I started reading around Christmas when my family came, and I didn't want to be focused just on Iron Flame and like wanting to be reading Iron Flame while they were here. So I put it down to be a bit more mindful and present during those days, which was initially really hard. And then I was kind of like, okay, whatever, at least I can dive back into the world once this is past. Christmas passed, and then I dove into Iron Flame and I wanted to binge it. I really, really wanted to binge it. But my self-control was so necessary for this. As some of you may know, I'm training to be a group fitness instructor right now, so luckily that kind of came hand in hand with reading the book, and I was able to pace myself through Iron Flame, lingering on every sentence of this book as long as I could before reaching the end. And I really paced it as hard as I could. And I finished it last night. I have so many thoughts, but I'm going to save that for the other video because I can't ruin it. I can't put spoilers in this video. I just have so many thoughts, so many questions. I kind of predicted what was gonna happen, but that didn't prepare me for the questions that I still have. Why are you leaving us off on a cliffhanger? So, I am book hungover. This series was incredible. I even joined a Facebook support group. It's called Iron Flame Support Group because yes, you need support once you finish this book. There's no official date in sight for when the third book is going to come out, and I'm still just like, I'm processing. I don't know what to do. I don't want to read another book. I'm in love with this book. I'm such a fangirl now, reliving like my fangirl era, younger days. I think that this book really showed me that can still be a piece of my life. We don't have to let go of everything from our childhood, and I think that's kind of the most important lesson I learned while reading this series is we just find ourselves in our late 20s going back to what we loved as kids, and that's okay. And something that I really loved as a kid was reading fiction and immersing myself in fictional worlds and being a fangirl. And you know what? There are worse things than loving something so hard and having so many feels. Honestly, if that is how I'm going to spend my life, I'd be pretty content. I obviously, as I was saying, want to incorporate balance. I feel fulfilled creatively. I have felt infinitely more creative, I think, since I picked up reading again. hands. It's inspiring me, it's motivating me. I had dreams once of being an author, and now I have those dreams again. That's going to have to take a pause because I have so many other dreams I'm working on right now, as some of you guys might know. Still, like, this has fueled a creative spark in me, which I am in need of in all the things, the new endeavors that I'm trying to work toward. I think that I'm going to continue reading. I'm going to continue falling in love with books, falling in love with fictional characters, and I really have Fourth Wing to thank for that because it took me on an emotional roller coaster. Rebecca Yarros' writing is incredible. All the little details, all the mapping, all the planning, the relationships, the Xaden and Violet scenes. It's beautiful. The storyline, the cliffhangers that just keep you reading. I love the way she structures her stories. She'll include no way that would mean, and you're kind of like, I guess you could guess what it could mean, but it just keeps you reading, and she doesn't answer it for a few more pages or into the next chapter. And I think that is such a good tool with keeping people engaged and interested. I loved the characters. I so fell in love with the characters. I grew attached to them, which is why I'm now sad that it's over for now. It's over until book 3 comes out. I am so excited to embark on other journeys, other stories within fictional worlds, and just really see what's out there, explore, keep igniting this creative bug in me. Just want to really immerse myself. It's also made me fall in love with the English language again and all of the little ways to structure sentences, beautiful descriptions. Oh my gosh. That's another thing. The way Rebecca Yarros describes things, the adjectives in this book are great. I love adjectives, but I don't love overkill of adjectives, and I think she really nailed the descriptions and the scenery and painting the pictures in your head. And this has kind of brought me back to a point of admiring those things and wanting to be better spoken myself. I used to consider myself very literate, fell off of that in recent years, and would like to be well spoken again. That's a goal that I think everyone should have, and reading these books reminded me that that was one of my goals. I think has already begun to sharpen that piece of my brain. If you follow me, you probably know that I deal with chronic migraines pretty bad. As a result of that, I get a lot of brain fog, a lot of like weird vertigo, just a lot of things that make everyday living on a functional level a little bit hard, especially if I focus too much on it or anxiety increases those things. I'm constantly battling a lot of brain fog and vertigo, and sharpening my mind, using pieces of my mind to read and directing that focus elsewhere, I think actually has also made an improvement in my migraines. I'm gonna give Rebecca Yarros credit for helping me to realize that reading can eliminate the brain fog for these things a little bit. For me, at least. I feel like it just gives me something else to focus on, so I don't give myself anxiety about like, oh, am I getting a migraine or these light spots? And it helps me to use my brain a little bit more and just clear up some of that brain fog. So I actually had bought this book, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I got them both on the Kindle, but I loved them so much, and anything that I really, really love, I want a hard copy of, so that is why I bought a hard copy of Fourth Wing. I'm going to make a bookshelf dedicated to Fourth Wing, decorate it. It'll be really cute, but it's going to be my little Fourth Wing memorial and I'll add each book series as they slowly come out. So anyway, I read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame both on the Kindle to start. I will be reading both books again. This is honestly the first time I've ever done an immediate reread, but I am lingering on this series so much that I have to reread it. I want to live in it a little bit longer. I want to notice things I didn't pick up on before. I want to just like relive a lot of these key moments. You know, you always wish that you could go back and forget everything you know about a book, reread it as if it was brand new again. But this is the closest I'm gonna get. So I'm going to reread this book, but I'm going to read them in the hard copy this time. I actually made myself wait. My restraint is incredible, actually. I know that there are chapters in this special edition Fourth Wing from Xaden's perspective. I haven't read them yet, so I'm going to treat myself to that on this reread, and I will make separate videos as I reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, specifically dedicated toward each one. Maybe that will contain spoilers. Again, I'm gonna figure out how people typically structure that in booktube reviews. I think I'm gonna take it a little slower this time since I do know what happens, unfortunately. That is my plan, and once I finish this series for the second time, I will delve into exploring other books, probably make some videos about other books. I think I'm going to backtrack a bit and also make some videos about the books that I read in 2023. Very happy to have this piece of my life happening again as an adult, and it just serves as a nice distraction. It's a great way to escape. I know our whole thing now is building lives that we don't want to escape from, but at the end of the day, it still is nice to live in a fictional world for a little bit and live through these characters, fall in love with characters, get attached to new characters, and it also can give us something to share with friends. I got my fiance and my best friend to read these books, and we've all enjoyed talking about it together, and it's a really cool new thing to bond over, something that I did not expect my fiance and I to be able to share this other thing, and I'm excited to have like another love to share with him. I'll end this ramble here. I know I just kind of rambled today because I just needed an outlet. I needed to talk about this. I'm honestly just really excited to dive right back in again. But we are balancing, so I'm going to work on a few other things that I need to do with my day, and then I'll dive back into the book. Bye!